Welcome to the Quantum Revenue Expansion Podcast. My name is Ursula, and I'm a sales expert, strategic business coach, and USA Today bestselling author. I love sharing strategies that show you exactly how to turn your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. If you're looking to take a quantum leap in your revenue or sales, your team, your productivity, your success, and your life, then you are meant to be here. My goal in every episode is to help you take your belief that it's possible to 2x or 10x your revenue while working way less to knowing that it is happening right now. Hey, everybody. Good day, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion. Super excited to be hanging out with you today. It's me again. It's a solo time. I have so many things I want to talk about before the end of the year because this, the last couple of months of the year can often be like those months where you get distracted. There's the holidays. There's lots of stuff going on. There's lots of things to pull our attention. And I totally get that. And my invitation for you is to think about what it would look like to finish strong and how you want 2025 to look. So today we're talking about how asking for help is the difference between 6 figures and 7 figures, or even 7 figures and beyond. And I'll say this too, sometimes the difference between 0 to 6, getting to 6 figures really quickly. And what I mean by that is so often as business owners, we try to do it alone. We try to do it ourselves. We try to buckle down and figure it out. Like, I know there have been times when I've wasted so much time trying to figure something out. And over the years, I've just gotten really clear that I don't have to do that. Nor is it in my wheelhouse to figure some of these things out. It's not a good use of my time. It's not a quick thing to do. So then the question becomes like, well, so then how can I grow my business? And why is asking for help actually, truly a superpower? And we're going to talk about that today. In the middle of all of this, like, 'tis the season. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, I love the holiday season, and I love it because gifts are my love language. And we are right in the middle of the Great Giveback. And the Great Giveback, if you haven't participated, is where we at Ursula Inc. put a really cool package together for you. And all you have to do is show us your donation receipt for a certain amount, and you get our training and coaching package. Yes. So you've donated, so we're going to donate to you. I know that when entrepreneurs, business owners make a lot of money, you give back to the nonprofits you care about. So people who are in our community who listen, like, you're always giving back. And so this is our opportunity to give back to you. So if you've heard about the Great Giveback and you've given to some nonprofits this year, and you would like to receive as well, and you'd love to receive some private coaching from me and Rebecca, and come to one of our upcoming Profit Accelerator courses and receive a lot of other free gifts, then check it out. The link is in the show notes. Come and play with us at the Great Giveback. We have 2 live courses you can join before the end of the year, and Trisha will let you know about that as well when you register. So anyway, notes are down there. This idea of asking for help, I think, is one that's typically it's overlooked because, I think in our country where we're taught, or like I was taught growing up at the farm, it's like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, you got to work hard to make money. You got to figure it out yourself. You got to dig in, hard work. And I'm not saying there's times when you don't work hard, because if you have a business, there are definitely times when you're going to work hard or you're going to work a lot. However, that doesn't mean that both things can't be true. Like, it might be that, there's times when you're working hard, but you also recognize that asking for help could be a quick hack to get to the next level in your business. As I was working at the Great Giveback, as I was working on the Great Giveback sales page this year and working on some of the emails and the communication that we're putting out about it, because I always want to make sure we're communicating it clearly. This quote by Steve Jobs, the amazing Steve Jobs, who we have lost from this planet, he shared a quote about asking for help. And, it was one of those days where I probably was asking somebody for help. And I saw this quote come through and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to talk about this. I think I've seen it before, but I'm sure it was in his book. It just really struck me. This is what Steve Jobs said. He said, I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I'm going to say that again. I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I think that's so true, right? Like if you walked up to just about anybody in the world and said, "Hey, can you help me?" They probably would be like, "Yeah, how can I help you?" We love helping people. As humans, when someone asks for our help or our guidance or our mentorship or whatever, we love to help. And yet, most people don't ask. Steve Jobs went on to say, he said, I called up Bill Hewlett when I was 12 years old. He said, "Hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student in high school." He must have started high school early. As I'm reading this, I'm just looking at that. He said, "I want to build a frequency counter." I don't know what that is, but if you're super smart out there and you know what that is, you can always tell me in the comments on YouTube. "I want to build a frequency counter, and I was wondering if you have any spare parts I could have." Okay, so imagine this 12-year-old working on these cool projects already, right? Doing super, super smart things in his world. And he calls up Bill Hewlett of Hewlett Packard. Like I'm impressed that he got through, right? Or maybe he had his direct line and he asks for help. I was wondering if you have any spare parts I could have. Apparently Bill laughed. I'm sure he was super impressed. Like if a 12-year-old called me up and was like, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, so delighted, so honored that you asked," right? So Bill laughed and he gave me the spare parts and he gave me a job that summer at Hewlett Packard and I was in heaven. I love that. So Bill laughed at him. He's like, "What? Yeah, here's some spare parts." And he gave him a job that summer at HP and he was in heaven. Like think about that, right? If Steve Jobs as a 12-year-old hadn't called and asked for help, would Apple be what it is today? I don't know. But at such a young age, to be willing to ask for help is so powerful. In fact, I haven't had time to do this yet, but I actually want to share this quote with my son, Luca, who's 11, because I don't know if he's thought about this concept and the power of just asking, right? And biblically, right, in biblical texts, in other spiritual texts out in the world, probably in many other theological texts that I don't know about, we're told to ask for help. We cannot receive unless we ask. Ask and you shall receive, right? So think about that in your own business for a moment. Like think how hard you work in so many areas of your business where it just feels like you're toiling away, like you're tolerating so many things and just not moving forward. And what if asking the right person for help could be like that quantum leap or that hack to go from where you are and where you want to go? Like what if it's just one person helping you? You guys have heard me, if you've hung out with me for a minute, you've heard me talk about this before. One of my favorite books of all time is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. It's a great story in itself on how that book was actually came to be and how that book was written and how Dan asked for help from Benjamin to get the book done. Anyway, all of that to say, so often in business, we ask the question of how do I do this? How do I get this thing done? And what if your superpower is actually finding a who? Just find somebody to help you figure it out. I know as business owners, we often think a who is going to cost a lot of money. And sometimes it is an investment to find a who that, will really help you grow your business. But a lot of times people will just answer questions for you. So I was reflecting on my own journey from being an outside sales rep to running a $20 million company by the time I was 27. And when I look back, one of the reasons I had that career trajectory was because I was willing to ask for help. I was willing to learn. I was willing to ask for help. I was willing to do the things that were uncomfortable. Because there were a lot of things. I didn't know how to read a P&L. I didn't know how to create a revenue model or projections. And so I had great mentors and I also asked a ton of questions. I wasn't afraid to be wrong. And I knew that I needed the information. So if I needed the information, I just raised my hand. The other thing that happened in those years is, by the time I was 22, I was a branch manager for a technical training and consulting company. So talk about like getting an MBA on steroids. I didn't get an MBA. I actually got a master's degree later, but not an MBA. But it was like getting an MBA on steroids because I was forced to learn a lot of things, right? When you're running a branch on your own, it's like running your own small business. And I needed to be able to do all those things really quickly. I needed to know how to sell. I needed to know how to lead a sales team. I needed to know how to fire, how to hire. I needed to know how to create the projections. I needed to know all the financials. And so I also started to lean into team, right? We had a pretty significant sized accounting department, which was great. We had an HR department. So I did have a lot of those pieces in place where I could just reach out and ask questions, which really served me later when I got my own business because I had to create that team around me. They weren't full-time employees like they were before, but it was like, who's my CPA, right? Who's my financial team? Who's on my financial team? Who's on my HR team? Even if it's a fractional person, like who's my attorney, right? Like who are all these people that are part of my team? Instead of trying to figure it out myself, instead of getting stuck in the how. I put a quick list together of like my favorite who've helped me, not necessarily the people, sometimes the people, maybe I'll share some of those, but just my who's, like who's on my team today? Who are the people that I go to? I just thought of it to get my questions answered quickly. And these are the who's that, really help me keep my company going and growing. And I will definitely say that some of the best investments I've ever made in myself and my company were working with the who's coaches and mentors who were ahead of me in business and could really help me have a quantum leap. Like I can look at the years where I stretched myself to work with a certain coach, or I really invested at a higher level, and I can see the return on that investment. Like you can just see it. It's in the numbers, right? And so I will talk about those. So let's start with just mentors in general. For me, when I was in the corporate world, I leaned into my mentors. I knew who they were. In my case, one of them was John. John was not my direct manager. He was my boss's boss, technically, but he was really instrumental in seeing my skill set and getting me promoted. He was like, wow, if you can do this, you could probably do this. Like he was building a career path for me and with me because he could see, every time they gave me a challenge, I was succeeding. Now it was it felt more competitive with my direct boss because he didn't want to be overtaken. So I actually had to leave the office I was at to lead another office, which was fine. But John saw that in me. And I think of John often because he believed in me before I believed in myself. He saw skills and talents in me that I didn't know I actually had. I didn't have a super high self-esteem at that time. I didn't have a lot of confidence, but he really helped build that confidence in me. And I'm super, super grateful to John to this day. And like, I look back at how he led, how he encouraged us. And one of the biggest things he did was see our talents and point them out and, say this could lead to, this other thing. And so, starting at the top, and these aren't in any specific order, but this is just kind of like what I was writing down and thinking about, mentors who they're not necessarily coaches or consultants, but just mentors, people that, other professionals who have believed in you, who have spoken truth into you, who have encouraged you. Those are the people that, are so important to moving you and your business forward, right? And just having them. Before that, one of my mentors was one of my best friend's uncles who had grown and sold his own company. And I just remember like he told me to get a job in outside sales. And I know I wouldn't be here today if he had not spoken that into me. So it's sort of like John did the same. Will did the same for me. He was like, well, have you thought about this? And I hadn't, right? And so mentors can give you that quantum leap. Like John and Will are two of the most instrumental mentors in my life that because of them, I made different decisions. I believed in myself in a different way. And I saw myself through their eyes to see a potential that I didn't even know was there. And what's really cool is that now and through the years, I can be a mentor to other people because I know the value of that. I know the power of seeing that in someone else and holding that belief in them until their own belief can catch up. Like, it's one of the most powerful things that a mentor can do. Second, uh, again, not in any specific order, but coaches. Hiring a coach or consultant, I kind of put them together because in my own world, we do both coaching and consulting, right? Sometimes it's pure coaching, sometimes it's coaching and consulting to help. Like, well, how can I help you, right? If I have the answer, I'm going to give it to you. That's consulting. If I'm being a coach, I might ask you some open-ended questions to help you see the answer yourself, because there's some things that you know about your business better than I do. And when I ask the open-ended question, you like know it, right? So for me, it's the same. And throughout my career, I've always hired coaches who are where I want to go. Like, one very memorable coach early in my career who I, really admired was Brian Tracy. You know, Brian Tracy had done the things I wanted to do. You know, when I had my sales coaching and consulting company, that's what he had done his entire career. He was also an author. And it was amazing to be coached by Brian. I originally hired him to be part of his 6-figure speaker program. And it was amazing. Like, I took a quantum leap in my confidence in getting paid to speak on, getting paid for keynotes and to be on stages, and just like, it was just this next level thing. And he saw in me what was possible and fed that back to me. He also, gave me one of his book proposals to model, because he's like, yeah, just go get published. And it was, because of him, I got my first more traditional publisher. And so again, like that, both of those things were a quantum leap, getting paid at a higher level to speak on stages, and then, jumping into the publishing world with a proposal that I felt really good about. Huge, right? That made a huge difference. So having, of course, mentors and then coaches can give you that quantum leap. I do this though. I just want you to know, like, I do this in all areas of my life. If I don't know something and I don't have time to figure it out, my first question is, who already knows this? And one big change we made this year in my company was moving to a profit first bookkeeper. I love Mike Malkovitz's work, his book Profit First. He's written other books. He's just super smart when it comes to talking about focusing on profit in the business. And it's one of the things that at Ursula Inc. we've really expanded into. We have sales, we have revenue growth, and it's also like, what's going on in your bottom line? What's your level of profitability, and how are we focusing there? That's why we created the Profit Accelerator, which, by the way, is part of the Great Giveback. So definitely check that out. Just a plug for that, because we've heard such great feedback from our clients on that course, the Profit Accelerator. And some of that was inspired by, reading and really remembering. Like, I've always known we got to pay attention to our bottom line, but how do we pay attention to our bottom line? And also expand it into, how are we paying ourselves our dream salary or not? And so in the financial realm, that has been a quantum leap. So my whole point is, we hired a profit first bookkeeper, because while bookkeeping in general, very important, but I wanted to work with someone who shared my mindset of focusing on profitability, focusing on dream salary, all the things that we were already working on with our clients. It's like, well, if I just had somebody handling that on the back end, again, like a quantum leap in how we're looking at our numbers, the kind of detail that Jessica has brought to how we view our P&L, and just all of those pieces that I knew were important. And I have had bookkeepers. We've always had a bookkeeper. This was just next level. I just wanted someone who had that knowledge, and that, again, we've taken a quantum leap forward in that place. Of course, I also have a financial advisor, a personal financial advisor who, working with her, we've taken a quantum leap in our personal wealth. We hired her years ago, but it's just like every year we just, continue to build wealth in the background because we're focusing on that. And because I have a who that I trust. And by the way, when I hired a wealth advisor, I hired someone who was financially independent, retired by the time she was 43 years old because of the work that she did. and the planning that she did. I'm like, of course I want to hire someone that's already a multimillionaire, and retired at 43. Like that was very important to myself and my husband. And again, that was a quantum leap. We work with a phenomenal CPA who we've worked with for years. That was an original quantum leap, and continuing to grow in our tax strategies and how we plan for the company. I'm just looking at my list. Like there's so many things in my company that come up every single day, right? I feel like many of you probably have decision fatigue, right? Every day as CEOs, all we do is make a decision. We make a decision, then there's another decision, and then another, and it can get pretty tiring. And so that's why I like to be surrounded by really, really smart team members who can advise me on how to make the fastest decision on something. Because sometimes I just ask my team member back. It's like, well, what would you do? Or how would you handle this? Or what are you thinking? Right? I want my team member to just come to me with suggestions. And we've moved to that level where it's like, if there's an issue, team members show up with, well, here's how we would fix it, or here's what I recommend, right? Because they know that's how I'm going to ask them. And I don't want to be the expert in social media. I don't want to be the expert in, AI right now. But I do want to have experts around me who either can answer the question or can get that question answered quickly so we can move forward. I can't say enough great things about, Trisha, who I get to work with every day, Cassandra, and of course, Rebecca, who works with all of our clients. And, we work with other team members even more in the background, but those three are constantly working closely with me to get questions answered, help our clients, get things figured out, and move forward. And so that, having a team that is really, truly much smarter than you and me in all those areas, it's a total game changer. I also because I meet CEOs all the time who are holding on to so many aspects of the business. They're holding on really tightly. And it's like, they're holding on so tightly that it really stunts the growth of the business. Creating a multi 7 figure business cannot happen in a vacuum by yourself. It can't. You need team around you, and then you need experts to call on when you have questions so you don't get stuck. Like that's the truth. And then in your own personal life, right? You want to have that same level of support, whether it's for my spiritual growth, whether it's for my health, whether it's for supporting our son or questions of my family or just all of those pieces. I have experts in all of those areas who I, consult with regularly to get questions answered. In other words, I have gotten to that point, actually I got to that point probably 10 years ago, probably a decade ago, where I'm like, why am I working so hard? Why am I always trying to figure this stuff out? Like who knows how to do this in marketing? Who knows how to do this in sales? Who knows how to do this on the team side, on systems? Like, how do we just get this done? And now we have AI. I will say Trisha on my team is becoming the resident AI expert. And some AI, you ask questions, and you're like, I'm not sure. I got to fact check that a little bit. But AI is obviously getting stronger and stronger and stronger. We ask AI a lot of questions and to get us pointed in the right direction. Or clients will ask us questions now. It's like, well, let's ask AI. And we get answers back immediately pointed in new directions. And so I'm not saying just completely rely on AI. It can be part of your team and in terms of who you're asking. And also sometimes AI doesn't know, or you get answers in this time of AI that aren't necessarily correct. So you want to work through it and just make sure it's right. This piece, as you move through the end of this year and think about 2025, I just really want you to encourage you to start to ask that question of, who do I need in my team? Who do I need to be supporting me to get to that next level in business? How am I going to get there is, an important question, but how can get us stuck, right? Because then your mind is like, I don't know how. So then the next question is like, who can help me figure out how to get there? And then how can asking for help become even more than something you just do to grow the business, how can asking for help become a superpower? Because that's what it is. Those who move forward quickly ask for help, right? That's what Steve Jobs was talking about. He said, he called up Bill Hewlett when he was 12, introduced himself, told him what he wanted. Bill was happy to help. So what area in your business right now could you use some help with? Really? Like, what area are you struggling? Is it marketing? If so, who could help you? Is it sales? If so, who could help you? Is it creating a projection model or a revenue model for your business? If so, who could help? Is it dealing with team on trying to grow a team or even knowing how to hire someone? Is it your financials and not really understanding them? Is it just feeling frustrated every day, not knowing what to do? Like any of those things, like where are you getting stuck? So I just want you to think of one area in your business that you're really struggling with today. And then make a decision, like, who am I going to ask for help from? Because you're spinning your wheels, you're wasting your time, being on a hamster wheel, not figuring it out. And I want to extend this invitation because if you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you're really feeling like Ursula could help me, right? And you need some help, or Rebecca and Ursula together could help me, then please give yourself the space today to click on the Great Giveback link and figure out how to make this happen. I guarantee you that on the other side of the Great Giveback package is so much clarity for you and a runway to create the profitable business that you dream about, and creating that for 2025 and really getting started on it in 2024. That's my invitation for you. And if we're on that list, awesome. We love helping business owners. We love helping you, figure out where you're getting stuck, what are the bottlenecks, and what do I need to do to clear the runway so that I can grow my business. So that's my invitation to you. With that, I just want to thank you for hanging out today. If this was helpful, definitely let us know. You can leave us a review wherever you listen or send us an email. And that means the world to us. I read every review, and it just helps me know that the content we're putting out there is really helping you move forward. All right, everybody, that's it for this week. Make this your best month yet and figure out who you can ask for help from. See you guys.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to leave a review on iTunes so I know what you like and can create content that guides you to up-level your business even more. If you want more strategic business tips, follow me on social media. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and you can visit my website at www.ursulainc.co. I love being on this journey with you and can't wait to connect with you on the next episode. In the meantime, make this your most epic month yet.